We are going to start going through the characteristics of the animal kingdom. We've talked about the evolution factors and some ecology factors. Today we're just going to talk about the general characteristics of animals in the animal kingdom. So as far as what an animal is, animals are all multicellular. They are eukaryotic, so we talked about eukaryotes and prokaryotes in biology. Eukaryotic cells are much more complex. We also know that heterotrophs are organisms that have to consume energy, and they cannot make their own energy, and they also lack cell walls as opposed to plants. If you're in anatomy, you call these types of tissues. They start out epithelial, then you also have muscular, connective, and nervous. You will not be tested over the types of tissues, but those are just the ones that make up an animal. Now, the animal kingdom is broken up into vertebrates and invertebrates. Invertebrates are the largest population in the animal kingdom. They make up about 95% of all the animal species. Invertebrates do not have a backbone or a vertebral column. Most of them are a little bit more simple. They don't have, and we're going to talk about cephalization here soon, they don't have a brain and spinal cord, which makes them less complex. This would include your sea stars, worms, jellyfish, and all of your insects, which is one of the big reasons that makes up 95% of all the animal species, because insects make up a large group of that. Now the vertebrates are the other 5%, and these are organisms that do have a backbone, and this will include fish, amphibians, reptiles, birds, and mammals. Now we're going to talk about the characteristics and the essential functions that animals have to go through. The first one, this is definitely a review from biology. They can be a herbivore that eats only plants, a carnivore that eats other animals, an omnivore, which eats both, detrivore, feed on decaying plant and animal material. Now the one we didn't talk about are filter feeders. These are aquatic animals that strain the tiny floating organisms from the water, and a lot of the more simple organisms are filter feeders. All animals have to respire. All animals have to take in oxygen and get rid of the carbon dioxide that is being produced when they produce the energy. Some organisms respire differently, like fish use gills. Such as some types of frogs, they can actually go through diffusion and bring in some of that oxygen and get rid of some carbon dioxide. That's why they always have to have the moist skin. But all animals have to be able to respire. All animals also have to have some form of circulation. This means that they are going to transport this oxygen and the nutrients and other waste products. Like ourselves, we have a 4-chambered heart, okay, and we have a closed circulation. Some have an open circulation, that all of their organs are just bathed in the blood and the nutrients, unlike ourselves that have a blood vessels, which we call that a closed circulation. All animals have to get rid of the ammonia or the waste product that cells produce. If you don't, that is a poisonous substance. So animals have to change that into something that's less poisonous and be able to get rid of it in some way. Now, I was talking about cephalization earlier. I'm going to show you the definition here soon, but all organisms have to respond to their environment, and we know that from biology. And a lot of times this is done through nerve cells. Now, we have a central nervous system that all of our responses have to go back to the brain, and then through the spinal cord, and then out to our muscles and glands. Many organisms do not have that. They just have sense organs, and then their body responds to that, as opposed to going to a central nervous system to respond to that. With a central nervous system, that is called cephalization, and higher level organisms have that. Also, all organisms have to reproduce. Most animals reproduce sexually, therefore they have sperm and egg that join and then they make a new organism. This is going to help maintain the genetic diversity in these populations and helps them. If you have more diversity, organisms won't succumb to different diseases and things like that. So it'll help them change as the environment changes and will let them live longer, or the species will sustain longer. Now some can reproduce asexually. That means that they're going to produce offspring just as themselves. Some can regenerate themselves, and that's going to be a type of asexual reproduction also. Asexual reproduction, the positive in that is it allows it to increase the numbers rapidly. So that's one reason that they can sustain life, is because they have such high numbers as opposed to the organisms that reproduce sexually. So as far as complex animals go, these are more of our vertebrates. They tend to have the higher level of cell specialization and internal body organization. If you think about humans, which we are the most complex, we have a very high degree of cell specialization. We have nerve cells, we have muscle cells, we have cardiac cells, and we have a very specific internal body organization that is very similar to other mammals. We also have what is called bilateral symmetry, and we'll talk about this in a second. Higher level organisms, you can take a plane and it will cut them into equal right and left sides, and that's going to make them, that kind of goes in with the internal body organization. Complex animals also have the front end or head with sense organs, like I just talked about. Your cephalization is going to make you higher level, and then most higher level organisms have body cavities. So when we're talking about types of symmetry, sorry, I skipped a slide. Alright, so body symmetry. Sponges are the least complex animal. Some even say that they would almost not be classified as an animal. They only have a tissue, and they do not have any body symmetry. But what body symmetry is, it's just it's a type of structure where you can divide the organism in equal parts. The first one that you see a lot of animals, such as a sea anemone, jellyfish, it's called radial symmetry. An octopus would fall into this also. This means that the body parts repeat around the center of the body, and that's going to be radial, which means a circle. And when you're looking at radial symmetry, the imaginary planes can be drawn through the center, and it divides the body into equal parts. So it's just around a circle. Now, higher organisms have what is called bilateral symmetry. This is what I was just talking about. One plane can divide that body into equal right and left sides. So if you took a plane right down the middle, you'd have an equal right and left. Your organs usually can split between the two. Now, directional terms that you will need to know, especially as we move forward into some of the virtual dissections. When you're looking at an animal, the anterior is the front. So we talked about cephalization, is when all of the sense organs, or the major sense organs, are located towards the anterior. And the posterior is the back. Also, when you're looking at an animal, the dorsal is the upper side, just like a shark has a dorsal fin. And the ventral would be the lower side, or like if you think of a dog, it would be the belly of the dog. Now, cephalization, I've talked about it quite a bit, but here's the actual definition of it. It's only with animals with the bilateral symmetry, but this just means that the sense organs and nerve cells are at the front end of the body. A lot of, especially, we're going to talk about cnidarians, like the jellyfish and like an octopus, they have sense organs, but they're not located at the top, and they don't go through the central nervous system like we do, or mammals, or things like that. And the last one is body cavities. As you know, in humans, we have body cavities, and they are fluid-filled space, but lower level organisms do not have that body cavity. For higher level organisms, the body cavity is going to provide a space which internal organs can be suspended And this is going to protect them and allow them not to be twisted by body movements.